Welcome back to another episode. So, if you don't remember the games that I have behind me, I love teaching through games. And in particular, I think it's pretty dangerous when you actually start mixing books and games. So, today's episode is talking a little bit about, well, combining this book and those games behind me to teach some very valuable lessons. So, the book I'm currently reading, Rich Dad, Poor Dad's Guide to Investing. So, pretty much what it says in this book is that if you want to be rich, there are three plans that you actually need to make. And those plans are talking about security, they're talking about comfort, and they're talking about being rich. Most people are focused on being secure or comfortable, and the rich aspect doesn't essentially fall high on their list. But those three categories are mutually exclusive, which means you can't necessarily have one without trading off with another. So in other words, if you are after security, that's what you're going to get, but it's going to be at the sacrifice of comfort and rich. And if you're going after comfort, that's going to be at the sacrifice of security and being rich as well. So if you actually want to be rich, you need to focus on being rich and be willing to sacrifice being secure and being comfortable. Now, that's a pretty interesting perspective because if you actually ask folks that are doing well for themselves, it's really a question of what is their priority. So looking at that, my daughter's young. She's only 6 years old at this point. So this whole idea of being rich, she probably does not understand very well, but she loves to win. And if you see the games behind me, she wants to win each and every time she plays any game. So I had to change the context a little bit. So instead of focusing on this book, we started taking some of the lessons learned and started twisting them around a little bit into something that I call the three don'ts of winning. So taking the same concept that Robert Kiyosaki talks about in his book and letting it to games, we talk about the three don'ts of winning. And what are those? Well, you're probably familiar with the first. The first one is don't lose. So most folks are very familiar with, if you play a game, don't lose. But that's not the only way to win. And in teaching kids about these ideas of winning and allowing them to win, you have to give them the opportunity to win at anything they do. Now, just because one of the don'ts is don't lose doesn't mean the only way to win is not to lose. There are other ways to win. So the two other ways that we actually came up with are don't change and don't settle. So if you combine those three, you have three categories the same way that you have the three categories for the guide to investing. You have don't lose, don't change, and don't settle. And how those actually correlate with one another is the don't lose is what folks are traditionally familiar with. But the don't change means you're actually able to stay in your comfort zone. But what it means more is that you actually keep the values that you had before you start playing a game. And that's actually very important to teach kids to actually understand and trust the values that they have. And if they believe in them strongly, to make sure that they don't change those. All right? It's pretty good, huh? And then the last one, don't settle. Don't settle is when you actually see something in the world that just does not sit right with you, don't just sit where you are and accept it. For the very fact that you're choosing not to settle for it means you're going to keep striving to achieve something that you actually want in life. So if you actually combine that with the games behind me, you'll teach some very valuable lessons for kids. And what that will translate into, in my belief, is, well, if you look at the other picture behind me, you have Muhammad Ali, right? And you have Sonny Liston, and that's the first minute of the first round, right? So I believe if you teach the right mindsets for kids so that they can understand that there's more than one way to win, that they can win at any game they play. And then what gets really interesting is when they start playing games that they create the rules for. And that creates a very interesting, unique perspective just going through life. So I hope you enjoyed this lesson. This concept is something that I really appreciate because, again, when you combine the books and you combine the games, you can get something very, very different. And when you're actually working to teach that as well, wow, just the possibilities are endless. So I appreciate you tuning in, and I hope you will tune in for some of the other content that I'm looking forward to sharing, just for the fact that, man, if I actually get it and I understand it, I love sharing it with you. So thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you on the next clip. All right, bye.